Yes. What is it? I was remembering Taris. No, it's all right. I think I am over the worst of it. I apologize again for lashing out at you. It was not your fault. It was a horrible place to have to live. At least in the lower cities where the non-humans tended to get relegated. Living for years in a place with no sun, living off the trash dropped from the upper levels, and the meager pay doing back-breaking labor. There were none. Bad enough to be a race that is feared and hated by humans, but to be one that is strange and different, even among non-humans. But living was hard enough, without the stigma of being from a lost race. There was always the danger of rakuls coming up from the sewers, or more mundane predators living and working in the area. My family and I struggled each and every day to make something of our lives. But we could only go so far. Taxes from the corrupt government, more fees from the gangs controlling the streets, and whatever was left paying for what food and medical supplies we could afford. It did not, but only because of the Jedi who came. It was very bad. With no money to spare for any amenities, even the Enclave on Dantooine seems a paradise in comparison. And of course, there was the constant bigotry and hate from the more affluent and human citizens, lording their wealth over us living below. Every once in a while, a rich human would come down through the lower levels with his droid entourage just to see how the wildlife lived, and laughed at the mockeries that were our successes. But I have come to meet many decent humans in my travels since those days. Indeed, some of the greatest people I have ever met are human. I have noticed that. But the Jedi Order seems to have collected a fair number. The Jedi who encouraged me to join the Order. The one who was with the group going to fight the Mandalorians. She was human. I am sorry. I am getting away from my point. If there even was one. Sometimes, I curse the day my parents fled to Taris. But then again, if they had not, I would not be where I am today. Another story for another time. For now, we must continue our own epic. To save the galaxy, if we can.
How can I help? Am I so transparent? I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, considering our bond. Yes, there is something I would like to ask, if you'll permit it. Don't even start with that. You're the one who asked. I wasn't even going to say anything. But now that you've brought it up, I see I shouldn't have waited as long as I have. In our time together, I've been watching you. You are a true servant of the light. You follow the tenets of the Jedi Order despite the lure of the dark side. And with so little training, for me it has always been a constant battle. Don't you find it difficult at all? You make it seem so easy. Or is that only an illusion? And that's enough for you. If only it were as easy for me. If only the right path was always clear. I've always struggled for control over my passions. I've always been too quick to anger, too quick to get involved. My instructors constantly berated me for it. I've often dreamed that I might be able to confront Darth Malak myself. I dream I can use all this power I have to kill him and stop all the death and destruction. I just think about all the evil that the Sith have caused and I get so furious. Yet we are told that these feelings are the path to the dark side. But what comes next? After using all that power, would you decide to impose your own view on the universe? The dark side corrupts your very thoughts. The very thought that I could become as evil as Malak. I just can't fathom it. It just doesn't seem possible. I mean, how could I... No. Wait, I'm sorry. I shouldn't even be asking you this. The Jedi teachings are clear. Who am I to question them? And even worse, who am I to try and make you question them? These are dangerous thoughts. The indulgence of a vain mind. Please, forget I ever mentioned this. Let's just return to our mission.
Calo Nord is dead, Lord Malak. He has failed in his mission. Forgive me.
The penalty for failure is death, Admiral Kareth. But the failure was Calo's, not yours. You may rise.
Shall I hire another bounty hunter, Lord Malak?
No mere bounty hunter can stand against a Jedi. I shall not make the same mistake again. My apprentice, Darth Bandon, shall take care of our young Jedi friend. Find Bastila and bring her to me, alive, if possible.
As you command, Master.
How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? I have been doing well, I suppose. As well as I can. But I am more interested in you right now. Do not mistake me. It is just that, even though we have traveled together for a while, it seems I know next to nothing about you personally. We have been traveling together since Dantooine, but I know nothing of you before that. Would you humor me and tell me a little bit about yourself? Humility. Please, if you would, indulge me. Your job, your childhood, your life. I am sorry if I am making you uncomfortable. I will fully understand if you choose not to answer. I greatly appreciate your taking the time to talk to me. How did you come to be on Dantooine, besides the obvious, of course? Taris. It always seems to come back to Taris for me. I am sorry, I get distracted. What did you do before Before that, a life in the army. Not my career of choice, though. We KotOR cannot seem to adjust to regimented organizations like the military. But I have heard that it appeals to males of your species. Fighting? Defending? That is what we as Jedi seem to be called upon to do. Perhaps we are not as unalike as I had previously thought. But again, I seem to be wasting your time with my carrying on. I apologize. I have been watching you for some time. I wonder if you have noticed. I have been thinking of how far I had fallen, and how you exemplify the code of the Jedi. I find myself ashamed. But I have so little to show when I compare myself to you, and that makes my shame even worse. That I had so easily fallen to the dark side, that I could convince myself that by injuring my master, I became a great force of evil in the galaxy for my pride, my hubris, for the inner rage that all of my species feels. Sometimes I wish that I had not been born this way. I am sorry. I start to talk thinking about how you stay strong to the path of virtue and justice, and I find myself whining again about my own inadequacies. The Council would be proud to see that you had learned your lessons so well.
Got something on your mind, dude? You got yourself a fast little ship? I'd forgotten what engine sounded like. The closest thing to that on Kashyyyk is an uller in mating season. Ugh, frightful. Or it could be for the free food. What's the gunk that comes out of a synthesizer on this bucket anyway? Do you never clean the darn thing? I'm old, damn it. I'm allowed to be enigmatic when I want to be. And don't you go telling me otherwise. You know, you remind me of someone else I knew ages ago. Pleasant enough fellow, great destiny, all of that. Breath like a bantha. No, but it could be. An Anduvian salt tablet would clear that right up, you know. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, Andor Vex was his name. The Force swirled around him like a hurricane. That's how great his destiny was. Well, it's not so much a hurricane as a slight breeze. But that doesn't mean anything. Destiny is sometimes in the eye of the beholder. Well, it turned out that poor Andor believed a wee bit too much in the infallibility of that destiny. That overconfidence turned out to be his downfall. I don't know. Are you overconfident? I hadn't noticed. Even if I had, I would never comment on it. We're talking about Andor, remember? Let's see. Oh yes, Andor's downfall. I was pretty young myself when it happened. At the time, I thought that Andor's destiny couldn't be more boring. Well, let's just say that I was a strapping young lad with a full head of hair, and Coruscant was a small town with a well. I was just about to abandon Andor to whatever the Force intended for him when his ship was overtaken by a Dimian warship. Now, you've probably never heard of the Dimians, but at the time they were a nasty lot led by a nastier overlord named Krat. Tall fellow, big teeth. Krat has us hauled onto the bridge of his ship for questioning, and that's when I knew that Andor's destiny was at hand. Swirling force, remember? Jedi here. Granted, I was just interpreting the signs, but we get trained in that sort of thing, more or less. Well, Andor decides that his destiny makes him invulnerable and starts making all sorts of demands. Free me now. I'm not answering questions. Blah, blah, blah. Don't you know who I am? Yeah. Krat decides he's had enough and begins crushing Andor's neck. I told the boy he should have kept his mouth shut. I think he agreed, too, or this could have just been gurgling noises. Oh, well, anyway. Finally, Krat has enough of Andor and tosses him aside into this giant energy intake shaft. Andor gets sucked in and starts bouncing around, screaming. Maybe Andor hit something sensitive on the way down, or just didn't agree with the reactor core. Next thing I know, all the ship's alarms are ringing. Everyone panics, and I run, barely making it to the ship in time before the explosion. Krat dies horribly, and the Dimians never quite recovered. Changed the political course of the entire sector for centuries to come. I'd call that quite a destiny, wouldn't you? Well, hey, the chances may not be great, but when one has the opportunity to see something like that twice in a lifetime... Anyway, go on. My throat is dry and you're making me cranky. Shoo!
Yeah, what do you want? We fought against the Republic forces for some time, over the course of many battles. At the start, they were not much of a threat to speak of. But once the Jedi Revan took charge, things began to turn against us. The Republic fleets began to use more than just basic tactics. Feints, counterattacks, mass deceptions. Revan was a genius on the field. Revan abandoned worlds of their defenders so that others would be too fortified to strike, and was willing to make sacrifices in order to advance goals. And in the end, Revan proved too much for us. But it was close. So close. It looked like the entire galaxy was within our grasp. I still remember that final battle in the skies above Malachor 5. The two fleets filling the space around it, outshining the stars. Yeah, we lost. But there is no shame in it. We lost to the greatest single warrior the Republic has ever known. It was not your ships, or your men, or your vaunted fight for freedom that won this, the final battle of the war. It was by the actions of one person, the Jedi Revan, that you prevailed. His strategies and tactics defeated the best of us. Even Mandalore himself was taken aback by the ferocity of his attacks, the tenacity of his defenses, and the subtleties of his plans. He fought us to a standstill, and then began pushing back. We really didn't have a chance. Don't be naive. The Republic is not invincible. This battle was the end of the war one way or another. It was what we had wanted all along, in a way. We wanted to fight the best, in a battle that would be remembered for centuries. And we did. And Revan won. I don't hold a grudge against Revan, and neither do any of my people. It was the greatest moment of my life to be in that battle. If Revan had been a Mandalorian, nothing in the galaxy would have stopped us. But wishing for the past to be different is useless. Better look to the future, as we should now. We'll talk more later, I think. Is there something else you want to know? Your choice. I'm here if you want something done right.
Skronki to paclimo, chi ita kanki channa kilikon. Kinba muli radwana ji, kinba no kun nikset abog.
Los efforts en la list is rekande kastanevon en daar is reaksjoor. Stoffen agnemer.
Achua penki, yun patisa. Ki juba ji kotka naga, kinbu mwa muli radwana. Kinba nikcha lora kun. Tong itwama ji human act in ikatune. Chon muli ra tong pa akat in tutune. Chino muli ra ni bubo tong king ba. No kun neksag. Da hupa da tenya ji juju piti.
Los efforts en la list. Israel.
Kava! Yun pati sa Chiwa aita kang ki Jiyokaku! Tong hitwama ag iinkotune. Portong hiwama ji ag iinkotun. Tong panokun nonek. Chiwi aita ka chong chicha. Ki mulira kun king. King ba no kun nik dorcha. Ki mulira kun king. Tong hitwama ag iinkotune. Chiwa aita kang ki cha na chupornibo. Kun mulira slimo poiwanga. Tong hitwama ji human ak ikatune. Ki mulira kun king. Tong hitwama ag iinkotune. Ichuta, yun patisa, king banik chalora kun, tang itwama ji, human ak ikatune, chon mulira tong pa akat intutune, chino mulira ni bubo, tong king ba, no kun neksag, da hupa da tenya ji juju piti, chiwi aita ka chong chicha, agi inkotune, chuna mulira, tang itwama ji kuna. Tong pa non kun nek abog ki mulira kun king. Tong hitwama ag iinkotune. Kakin cha nawabagaon. Pagwa siyang kontimachit
How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? Well, I mentioned before that my parents had fled to Taris. Perhaps I can tell you about that. No, they were not. Having fled the birth world of my species, my parents flew as far and wide as they could. And so I was raised alone, knowing of my birthplace only the few stories my parents could tell, and seeing no other member of my species at all. It all comes back to wars and fighting. The curse of your race, it seems. In the early days of the Mandalorian War, there had been fighting closer to the Outer Rim worlds. KotOR was there, yes. My people had a great reputation as warriors, and that appealed to the Mandalore version of honor. They sought to test themselves against us, I think. Test themselves by bombing our world, slaughtering my people while they slept or while they ran. They swooped down from space, across the world, firing at anything that moved. They used ships in space to destroy all orbital facilities and bombard the surface. We did resist, and in spite of their violent attack, we did stave them off for quite a while. But in the end, we were doomed. We were not members of the Republic. KotOR was beyond the edge of the Republic, in the Outer Rim. And besides, they could not have known. Our interstellar communications were the first things the Mandalores hit. All other short-range communicators were jammed. We were on our own. We knew what was coming. We had fought the Mandalorians in the first war against Exar Kun and the Sith. We knew there would be no mercy for us. The most we could do was pack the few of our people who survived onto what few ships remained and send them off into space as fast as they could. Most did not make it. My parents carried me as a baby with them, and were lucky enough to escape. They fled as far as they were able, and eventually settled on Taris. They could stand running no further, I think. But Taris was a horrible choice. Dominated by humans, intolerant of other species, it made everyday life unnecessarily hard. No, it is not. But they had little choice. Each of us dealt with it in our own way. My father turned to stimulants. He spent much of his time in local bars and dives. But we are warriors. It runs through our blood. And when he was on stims, he became foolish. He let his warrior nature get the best of him. So he would get intoxicated, and he would fight. And finally, one day, he would die. Killed by a man who provoked him into a fight and killed him like an animal. I am sorry. I cannot talk about this any longer right now.
Got something on your mind, do you? No, I never did I? Elusive? Me, elusive? Obviously, you've never tried to grab a Twi'lek dancing girl after drinking too much Onderan Willick juice. At any rate, I already told you why I wanted to leave. I'd seen everything I wanted to on Kashyyyk. Time to go. Time to move on. You live in an overgrown stump with a tax beating down your door, and you tell me how happy you would be. I was pleased just to have visitors. How many kilometer-high trees can you find an interest in before you figure you've had enough? I'd bet you can't be bothered to stay in one room for more than 15 minutes. And then there's all the critters in the Shadowlands. I'm just happy to be back in space, doing something new. Is that too much to ask? There. Now, was that so hard? An old man has to be allowed some petty eccentricities. Nice to see you agree for once. I'll admit, for all its flaws, Kashyyyk was home enough. But when you came along and I saw the destiny you had before you, I couldn't help but be intrigued. Of course not. Weren't you listening last time? I can see that you have a destiny before you, but the details are far from clear. In fact, everything about you that I can see is odd. Slightly off, as if my eyes are trying to trick me. Something is very dark about you. But, I'm sure you don't need to hear my ruminations. You've probably got enough nosy Jedi offering you one opinion after another to make you sick. Your future will come of its own accord, trust me. Sometimes navel-gazing at it doesn't get you anywhere. I wouldn't worry about it too much if I were you. You remind me a bit of Nomi. And that can't be all bad. Nomi Sunrider. She came late to the Force, just as you have, and became one of the greatest Jedi ever. Oh, fine lass. Whether you'll follow the same path remains to be seen. For one thing, we'll never get anywhere if you stand around chatting up old men all day. Nonsense. If I ever refused to help you when you asked, how confused can one person be anyway? One thing I will say is that this little escapade does remind me a bit of my adventuring days before the war. Those were exciting times. Or at least it would remind me of those times if we didn't stand around. What's keeping you? You're too young to be so talkative. Shoo! Shoo!
Statement. HK-47 is ready to serve, Master. Affirmative. If you believe your skills are up to the task, Master, then I can certainly guide you through the process. Request. I only ask that you be oh so very careful, Master. I am too valuable and well-crafted to perish at the hands of ineptitude. Statement. As you wish, Master. You are already familiar with accessing my central control cluster, correct? Now you will need to... And now rewire the last 3 relays. Yes, good. Well done, Master. I believe your operation was a success. Accessing new memory. Access complete. I have accessed information on my owner prior to the Senator, Master. Most unexpected. Answer. It appears that previous to my ownership by the Senator, I was the property of one Bochaba the Hutt on the planet Slaheron. Objection. That is unfair, Master. While Bochaba may have died gruesomely, I most certainly had nothing to do with it. Well, very little. My memories tell me that, for a time, Bochaba was one of the most feared gangsters on Slaheron. I helped him with this reputation greatly. Over a span of 1 year, I terminated a grand total of 322 sentient meatbags. These contracts made Bochaba very wealthy. Statement. Should I, Master? I had no reason to terminate those targets. It was not my decision. I am the weapon, not the wielder. Answer. That is correct, Master. I do enjoy my work, though my past owners have enjoyed utilizing my functions far more. Strictly speaking, one meatbag is the same as another. Anything I do is in support of my master. It was unfortunate but inevitable that eventually Bochaba would overstep his bounds. I had just cleared 2 hut households when the exchange retaliated. Statement. I was not even present when my old master was assassinated. I did appreciate the artistry behind his demise upon my return, however. Observation. Indeed. Perhaps it is better that my assassination function is inoperable, Master. Yes? I am like a veritable fable, warning against the karma caused by murdering others. A morality tale, if you will. What utter irony. At any rate, I quickly shut down upon my master's death. The rival hut claimed me along with my master's other possessions. Observation. If that hut had only known my true function, he surely would not have sold me to a senator he bribed regularly. Observation. It would have suited my character, Master. I have enjoyed my existence since, more or less, so I do not miss it. Observation. No doubt, Master. It would have been a glorious battle to end my existence with. I would prefer that to rusting on a junk heap. Supplication. Please, Master, have I not pleased you? I cannot control the acts I have performed. Perhaps that is why memory is erased. At any rate, I act only as you instruct me, even if that means being non-violent. Affirmation. HK-47 exists only to serve, Master. Answer. Negative, Master. There is still more memory that can be restored, however, if you wish to try. As well, I believe I can restore several programs the hut installed to improve my performance. Yes, they are now active, contemplative. I wonder how many more dead masters I might have out there. A droid can live for a long time, you know.
Yeah, what do you want? The war we had with the Republic was supposed to be the most glorious battle in our history, but it was a very costly one. I guess we didn't think of how much we could lose in it. There weren't many of us after that last battle. Mandalore himself was killed at the hands of the Jedi Revan. The best of us could not defeat him. After that last battle, those of us that survived were stripped of our weapons, our armor, and our basilisks. Revan's forces destroyed them while we were forced to watch. Those who hadn't fled earlier were left with nothing to call their own. No weapons, no armor, only the honor of having fought in the battle we just lost. For many, this was not enough. While the rest of us were sent into exile on the Outer Rim, they tried to relive the old days, raiding worlds. They're nothing more than bandits now. Yeah, I came to Taris. And forcing for Davik was not stimulating. The gangs on Taris and Davik's rivals were trash. They give no thrill in battle, no honor or glory in defeating them. It was like stepping on bugs. I sought worthy challenges, but the best that Terrace could offer were nothing to me. But I think now, with you, I may finally find opponents worth fighting. Maybe later I'll tell you more about what it was like to work for Davik. For now, though, we should get on with our lives. Is there something else you want to know? Your choice. I'm here if you want something done right.
How may I be of assistance to you, Padawan? What is it you would like to speak to me about? I am wary of the Mandalorian. I do not trust him. I have never trusted Mandalorians. They drove my parents from Cathar, aided the Sith, and attacked the Republic. Their warped notions of honor may provoke them to do even more heinous acts. I do not know why you tolerate his presence on your ship. In truth, he has had some merit so far, but I am not certain it is worth the risk you take. His kind may prove to be a danger to the galaxy again, but this man himself has proven acceptable so far. Merely keep your distance from him and watch him so that he does not betray us. Spoken to him? No, I could not. Mandalorians are vicious of temper and easily provoked. I would not want to tempt his wrath. I am sorry. It is just that I cannot stand to be around him for very long. I suppose I do not really dislike him. It is just... I am not a coward. I fear no one and nothing. But you have not had to flee the destruction of your homeworld either. Human, the Mandalorians came and overran my world. They slaughtered my race. I cannot forget what they have done, or forgive. You are right, of course. You always seem to know what you speak of. This simmering anger and hatred for the Mandalores seems to have found a place in my heart, though. Sometimes I worry that I may fall to the dark side once again. That I may threaten you, the Republic, the entire galaxy, if that time does come. And if I do, threaten our task, it is only right that you should strike me down. If I fall and endanger you and the galaxy, you must do what is right. If my death will defeat Malak, then that is what must be done. But we are becoming too morbid, too soon. We should not talk like this now. There is much yet we can do, but we shall talk later, I am sure.
How can I help? Yes, I did end that quite abruptly, didn't I? Perhaps a master could have addressed my questions with the proper wisdom, but I never should have brought it up here, not with you. Part of my purpose on this mission was to guide you in the way of the light, to help you avoid the temptations of the dark side. But I fear I've failed in that task. I don't think I'm the proper Jedi to guide you. I am no master. You should have remained with the Council. Perhaps you're not being truly objective, then. There's no need to spare my feelings on this point. The fact of the matter is, I have never possessed much skill at controlling myself. With the bond that joins us, it seems I have even less. You have maintained the path of the light side, but it has been in spite of my influence, not because of it. It's increasingly obvious I am unable to guide you properly. That's kind of you to say, but I think the evidence speaks for itself. I think I may have made a very big mistake. I simply hope that you are not the one who pays the price, ultimately, for the fact that I can't help you enough. That's a kinder response than I deserve, and I can see there is wisdom in your words. You continue to be there for me, don't you? Even after I keep pushing you away, you're still around when I need you most. You're like no man I've known before, and you're nothing like what I expected you to be after the Council sent us on this mission together. Well, just different, I suppose. Things are not going as I thought they would. I need time to think about all this. We should continue on with our mission for now. Another vision. The Force is guiding us, helping us retrace the steps of Malak and his old master, leading us ever closer to the Star Forge. It is strange that anyone would have built a star map here. The entire surface of Manaan is covered by nothing but vast oceans. It is possible. The melting of polar caps or a cataclysmic earthquake could have buried the land beneath the waves eons ago. Records from that time are incomplete. The ocean floor is vast, and much of it is uncharted, even by the native Selkath. But how could Revan and Malak have found their way down? No doubt things will become more clear once we discover the star map's location.
Got something on your mind, dude? Manaan's an unusual place. Not for its water, mind you. It's the KotOR, healing juice. Only place where it occurs in the galaxy. And that's about all I got to say about that. Now, let's get going. Did I say that? Strange the tricks memory plays on you when you get older. Didn't I say that my past was my affair? You don't see me poking and prodding you with questions, do you? I'm not here to satisfy your curiosity. No staring at the old man, that's what the sign says, damn it. And besides, you don't really want to hear about me. We're talking ancient history, probably before you were born. History bores kids. Proven fact. So you're not. Fine. Have it your way. Just don't say I didn't warn you. Yes, I was an adventurer. Happy now? I wasn't even done with my Jedi training back then. I had a full head of hair and an eagerness to see absolutely everything. Sound familiar? The Council was never happy with willful, brash Jolie Bindo, you see. Even less so when I began my smuggling career. Don't look at me like that, damn it. I wasn't always the wrinkled coot I am now, you know. I can still fight, too. So wipe off that smirk I see there. At the time, the Yukata system was interdicted by its own king. He preferred to keep his people starving and poor, all the better to oppress them. The Senate was trying to negotiate a peace, but they were getting nowhere as usual. I decided I wasn't going to wait. I found myself a ship and a partner, and we began smuggling food and supplies to the Yukata citizenry through the blockade. Oh, it was. I was a half-decent pilot in those days, and with the Force guiding me, we made it through some tough spots nobody else would have. Pilot, smuggler, several other things too. Or did you suppose I was always a crotchety hermit? Why not? There were millions of people crying out for aid. What else was I supposed to do? Well, we didn't buy all the equipment per se. Some were happy to donate goods. Some we just knew had more than they could use. Stole is such a harsh word. They would have donated those goods readily enough if they were compassionate. I considered it a tax on the greedy. We only got caught once. A lone Yukatish frigate shot us down and forced a crash landing. I thought the Force had abandoned me, as I remember. Well, as it happens, getting shot down turned out to be very fortunate. That day was the day Well, that was the day I met my wife. You know another way to get a wife? But yes, that's when I met her. If it's all the same to you, I'd prefer to stop talking now. My mouth is starting to draw flies.
Yeah, what do you want? Waterworld's never had much of an appeal for us to conquer. They may put up a good fight in their own environment. No match for us, of course. But they don't really have anything of value, either. The thing this world is good for is a substance known as KotOR. KotOR is the single best healing substance in the galaxy. But the Mandalore are not as weak and fragile as your Republic and Sith warriors. When we enter a battle, we carry weapons powerful enough to pulverize cities. Both in our wars and in our own personal combats, there are no survivors. So KotOR does not hold the appeal it does for your peoples. Do you have anything else you want to ask? Your choice. I'm here if you want something done right.